Hello, everyone. So today, I know it says 8.1 right there, but we're actually going to go over 8.3. We're in page 247 of your student journal. I know it's a little strange the way that we're starting in chapter 8. Chapter 8 is all about graphing different quadratic equations, quadratic functions. And the algebra teachers and I, we got together and we really don't like the way that it explains graphing in 8.1 and 8.2. We don't think it's super helpful. So I have to kind of go over some of the vocabulary in 8.1. That's why I'm starting here. But I'm calling this the 8.3 video. I'm calling the homework the 8.3 homework. We're going to hop over there after I get through the vocab. So that I know that's a little confusing. That's why I'm starting in 8.1, but really this is 8.3 that we're covering. We're going to skip 8.1 and 8.2 this chapter. We're going to zip through this chapter, I think maybe 2 weeks before we take the chapter 8 test. It's not going to be like chapter 7 where we had quite a few weeks. Real quick, just to get through this vocab, you can always pause the video if you need to get anything that you want to copy down. Quadratic function. This is kind of math speak right here. Polynomial with one or more variables in which the highest degree term is of the second degree. All that means is you have this y is equal to x squared, nothing higher than x squared. That's a quadratic function, or you can have y is equal to x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay, f of x. Remember, f of x is really the same as y. All that stuff, okay, is really just quadratic. So when we're talking about quadratics, I'll talk about quadratics quite a bit because that's what this chapter is. It just means the highest exponent is 2. So it's not like a linear function. It's a quadratic. So parabola is the shape. That's not a great one. All right, this U-shaped graph that we get when we graph a quadratic function. And there's 2 points that we need to talk about. Really, our main focus for today are these 2 words right here, vertex and axis of symmetry. So vertex is the point. It's either the lowest point on one like this that opens up, or the highest point on one like this that opens down. So that's our vertex. And then an axis of symmetry, that's the vertical line that divides our parabola into 2 symmetric parts. So it's this vertical line, this imaginary vertical line, that goes through your vertex. Okay, it cuts this parabola in half. And why don't I show you a picture that is a little bit better? All right, so we have our parabola, that's our U shape. Okay, this one opens up, so our vertex is that lowest point, that very lowest point. And then our axis of symmetry cuts that U in half. It always goes through your vertex. Okay, it's always at this x is equal to whatever that x value is of your vertex. Okay, remember x equals number is a vertical line. Okay, so the vertex is some point. Okay, some xy point. Axis of symmetry is always going to be this x is equal to blah, blah, blah line. Alrighty. And like I said, I don't really love the way that it explains this type of graphing. So we're going to skip all this. We're going to skip 8.1. Oh, that's not what I wanted. We're going to skip 8.1. We're actually going to skip 8.2. Because again, the way that it describes this, you can graph all of these types of functions with the type of graphing in 8.3. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about minimum and maximum a little bit later. It's really the same thing as a vertex. Okay. The main thing that I really want to talk about today, all that I gave you for your homework today, I want you to either look at a graph or look at an equation and tell me what is my what is my vertex and what is my axis of symmetry. So I'm actually going to flip back. I want to look at a couple of examples here. I know this probably looks really great. Okay. I know that the question is not asking the exact same thing. I'm here on 248. I just want to identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry because it is asking you some of the same things on your homework. It gives you some graphs. So vertex and axis of symmetry. Did I just spell symmetry wrong? Yes, 2 M's. That's why spelling doesn't count in math. Symmetry. Okay. Important thing to remember, vertex is always a point. Axis of symmetry is always a line, and the equation for that line is always x equals something. Okay, my vertex, I can see the point. Okay, I'm at -1, +1. -1 for my x, +1 for my y, and my x equals, that's always the x from my vertex. So x is equal to -1. Remember, we would draw those vertical lines. That's a pretty bad one. I've got that vertical line there, and x is equal to -1. So in my homework today, that's all I'm asking. We'll get into the graphing tomorrow, but for today, I just wanted us to really understand these different parts of a graph, these different aspects of a graph. Okay, real quick, I wanted to do the second one. Okay, vertex is this point right here. This one's the highest because it opens down. Okay, 3, 4. My axis of symmetry, that's this line here that goes through. So it's x is equal to 3. Right? It's a little bit trickier when I just have the equation. So now I'm going to go all the way back to 8.3. I know this is a little confusing, flipping back and forth. It really kind of condenses it a little bit for us. So in the long run, it's going to be easier. Let's flip all the way back to what page is this? 258. All righty. So it's still asking us for our axis of symmetry and our vertex of the graph of our function. So when we don't see a graph, okay, the way to find this, and we have this right here in these notes, -b/2a. Okay, that's how we find the x coordinate of our vertex, and then we'll plug that in to find y. And then that axis of symmetry, it's always that same x value. It's -b/2a. Okay, remember, just like in factoring, all of these quadratics are in this ax squared plus bx plus c. So when I'm talking about a and b, I'm talking about the coefficient of x and the coefficient of a. So right here, number 1 wants me to find my axis of symmetry. So that's x is equal to -b/2a. Well, b is -10, so -10 is +10 over 2. That coefficient is 1. So 10 divided by 2, I get 5. My axis of symmetry is x equals 5. Don't just say 5. You always want it to be that entire equation. Okay? I know that -b/2a is 5. Let me plug that in to my x. So 5 squared minus 10 times 5 plus 2. Okay, 5 squared is 25 minus 50 plus 2. Okay, 25 minus 50, that's going to get me -25. Plus 2 is -23. So for my vertex, my x is this -b/2a. My y, -23. All righty. You can tell I'm doing this at school. All right. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you're B-Day, send me an email, okay, if you get stuck on anything. And I will see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of your day.